Hello, everybody. We're back for another episode of Always Almost There, Day After Show. And Neil and I are in the same room today. You know what that means?
That means I get to actually physically kick you.
Yes. And we're both seeing Goose tonight. It's very exciting. We've got the largest headlining show in the band's history going down in just a few hours. It's back. I'm excited. Are you excited?
I'm excited. Yeah.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, that was all off the cuff. I thought when you do these intros, you write them down, but no.
Really? No, everything I do is off the cuff. I can't script things.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good.
All right. Well, thank you. Well, we're going to be talking about tonight's show tomorrow, of course, but we are here today to talk about last night at Thompson's Point in Portland, Maine. Beautiful lakeside venue. I heard it was dusty.
Not dusty.
Not dusty? Muddy.
And not lakeside. It's like a salt marsh. And maybe somebody can explain that better than I can. But we'll talk about the venue vibes when we get started.
Yes. But yeah, it was good. You made it here to Saratoga Springs. You know, we just met up, ready to pod and then get stoked for tonight's show, you know.
Yeah.
First headlining Goose show with the Clav tweet shirt. It's very exciting. Shout out to my parents who are probably watching right now. Anyway, we've got two great guests who were at the show last night. We're going to bring them on now. We've got Ryan and we've got Derek. Hello, gentlemen. How are you today?
Doing great. Last night was just fire, and it's almost nap time for a little bit before we rage again tonight. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, doing great. Still coasting on last night for sure. That kind of took me through my work day today, especially once the boards dropped. But
riding a high, yeah, for sure.
Oh, we have boards.
We do. Yeah, you didn't get
Oh
that?
yeah.
No.
It was like a couple hours ago.
Well, I was in the car driving.
Yeah, okay. Well, you were in the car with people. I wasn't sure if I guess they weren't on top of their game.
No, we were just watching the stream anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, so you were listening to it. So you're good. You're good.
that works.
Well, we do have Borfs. But let's get through the vibes, the pre-show vibes. Start with you, Ryan. What were you thinking before the show? What was your experience getting into the venue? Where did you end up? And I know you had a very special person with you at the show last night.
Yes, I had my 10-year-old son. It was his first two-set show. I know we actually had met Ryan and your family in Lowell. That was his first experience with a Goose Live show, but this was his first two-setter. So going in, I knew it was going to be just a special night, just to see the show through his eyes and kind of be with him. And going into the venue, it did not disappoint. I mean, it was gorgeous down that area. I hadn't been to Thompson's Point before and absolutely loved it. I know it was a little muddy for some folks that may have been in the center. Luckily for us, the mulch held up, but it was just a great vibe in the beginning for me, mostly because this community is just so sweet. Bringing a young kid to a big concert like that is always a little nerve-wracking. You never know kind of what people are going to be like around you and whether or not they'll be supportive of having a little one, up close. But everybody was so fantastic. He managed to get some stickers and some pins, and we ended up second row right at Peter's side, and Landon, my son, became the honorary bathroom break holder for the rail riders. So whenever somebody had to go, they let him sneak in and ride the rail for a little bit.
That's awesome.
And he got to experience that. And he was able to grab a set list after the show, and it just made his night. So the whole vibe was fantastic. Yeah, I haven't myself been, I think, attached to a band as much as I was with like Dave Matthews Band when in like 2000 when I started going to like SPAC and Hartford and Mansfield and all those. And I think the community honestly is a big part of that. Not only is the band fantastic, but everyone that I've come across just so amazing. So looking to see where Goose goes. I cannot wait for tonight. This is going to be one to remember.
Yeah, it is. I love hearing stories, always about people taking their kids to shows. Obviously, I say this all the time, but as somebody who was taken to shows as a kid at a very young age, and I'm still, going to shows with my parents. They're both here tonight, which is going to be a lot of fun. We realized tonight's the first time that the three of us are seeing a Goose show together. We've seen together, but like with my siblings. But tonight's just the first time that we're seeing Goose, just the three of us. So that'll be fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Nothing like it. Derek, how are you feeling getting into the show? What was your experience and the vibe pre-show?
Well, I just gotta say, like Ryan, anytime I see somebody that brings their kids to the show, I'm like, that's a cool parent and that's a cool kid for sure. And so I always make sure that I'm not, you know, expanding my space too much into theirs or anything like that, because I think that's awesome as somebody whose dad listened to a lot of 80s metal and stuff like that growing up.
Right.
My first concert was Motley Crue that he took me to, and I was like 13 years old, and I went with like a pile of my uncles and cousins and stuff, and it was fun. But like ever since I got into this music, like shortly after that, I didn't have anybody really to like take me to stuff like that. So anytime I see a parent that's taking their kids to like Fish or Goose or whatever, I'm really stoked for them that they get to experience that. I was able to take my dad to Pearl Jam a couple years ago because that's one of the few bands that we overlap on, and it was so much fun. And so I was like, Dad, you gotta come with me to Goose. You gotta, So I've been trying to. He likes a couple of the covers, and that's as far as I've been able to get so far. So we'll see. But as far as last night, the vibe out of this world. Thompson's Point is one of the best places to see a show on the East Coast, in my opinion. As somebody who's biased as my hometown venue, I gotta say.
Love to hear it. Well, Neil, quickly before we dive into the show, take me through how you were feeling before the show last night. Met up with some friends.
Yeah. So I got into town, I want to say about 2:00, and I immediately drove over I was staying at the hotel right next to the venue. So I drove right over to Bissell Brothers, which is a fantastic brewery.
Yeah.
But just right next to the venue, and sat down and had some food with Brennan and Becca, friends of the pod, and had a bunch of beers, and it was great. It was, every time Goose plays in Portland, I go to Bissell anyway, because it's just a great place to chill and relax and get ready for a show. And yeah, it was awesome. Really quite pleasant. And
you you ran into a celebrity in the lobby of the hotel.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I ran into June and Rich Atkins in the hotel lobby, and like pretty much everywhere else I went for the rest of that day, and like early this morning. Just like everywhere I went, like Rich was there.
Yeah. And, shout out to Rich and June Atkin. We're very disappointed in both of you that you're not at SPAC tonight, but we respect why you're not.
Yeah. And they did say, or I think Rich did say that he was going to listen today. So
okay,
maybe he's checking it out. I don't know. He did verify the time with me though. He was like 3:30, right? And
yeah.
I was like, yes.
All right. Well, if you're watching, hello, Rich and June. And if you're not, whatever.
Yes,
there he is. Thank you, Rich.
Absolutely the best.
Awesome.
Thank you for watching.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's dive into the show here. Let's start off with this first set. Pretty amazing first set. Let's do first 3 songs here. We had The Whales, we had Rockdale, and Born. A couple of great jams right at the gate. But Derek, take me through these first 3 songs. How were you feeling? What were the vibes? Everything.
There's nothing like, Thompson's Point is one of those early shows. I think just the other day, you guys were talking about how cool it was, at the Stone Pony with like the early start time, early curfew. And I personally, especially for midweek shows, I like those early start time and early finish, knowing I got to get up and work the next morning. So, when they come on stage and there's no lights or anything, and it's just like perfect weather, like it was last night, and a nice ocean breeze, like it doesn't matter what they open with. I'm in the mood. I'm in the vibe already. I'm ready to go. But Whales was cool. I think last night was my 8th show, and that's the first time that I've seen the Whales. So I was pretty stoked for it. That's one I've liked since they debuted at the Bingo Tour. And Rockdale coming up after it, I was especially stoked for. I went to the show last night with my wife, and we were just talking the other day and listening to one of the Rockdales that we've seen. And I said, this is a song I could get every show. It's great to sing along to. It always has a great jam. Rick always shreds the hell out of it. People get excited for it. So especially early in the first set, it's really a way to kind of get you grounded in, you're at a Goose show right now, let's rock.
Yeah.
And then the Born after, I really, really enjoyed the jam coming after that. I was like frantically looking at Twitter, and I try to stay off my phone as much as possible during shows, but I was frantically looking at Twitter to see like, is this something that I don't recognize? Because it seemed like they had ended the song and just kind of went into a jam. At first, we're like, oh, is this like maybe an Electric Avenue opening?
Like
Or
2001,
yeah, exactly. So, but it just was like, hey, let's just don't feel like playing another song yet. Let's keep jamming. So I was fully locked in at that point.
Love it. Ryan, what about you on these first 3 songs?
Well, I had once I saw the T-shirt for the venue with the whale, I'm like, I'm guessing this is gonna be coming up. So, the Whale's opener was
Good call.
right there. You kind of felt that coming, and I'm in the Whales as a banger camp. Yeah, I do enjoy the Whales. I love where it goes at the end. So I thought it got the party started pretty well, and we're huge Rockdale fans. As soon as that started going, I mean, that's when I saw my son too, and he just lost it. I'm like, here we go. All right, we got the Whales and got that done. Now Rockdale, it's business. I'm still getting used to the Born tempo now, I think. It kind of caught me off guard of how much faster it is now. I hadn't really heard many live since, when Drip Field first came out. And I do enjoy it. I do enjoy it, that pace, but the jam was fantastic coming out of that. So I thought it was a hot start. It, like I was saying before we started, for me, I got locked in at the Whales, and they just had my attention all night. There was no wavering.
Love to hear it. Yeah. Just before we continue, just want to preface for everyone, we apologize for the poor video connection on our end. The Wi-Fi at this hotel and the reception here isn't the best. But we're hoping that the audio is coming through clear. So while our video may not be the best, hoping you can hear us, which is really what matters here on a podcast.
Right.
There's a picture. But Neil, first 3 songs.
Yeah, man. Whales. That was my first Whales with the kind of different intro.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I kind of dug that. That was pretty cool and not a bad way to start a show. I didn't see that one coming. I'm not one of those people who is like, oh, they're playing by the ocean.
Yeah, right.
Well, the T-shirt thing. Like, I didn't see any of that.
Right.
But I didn't see that until like after the show. I ran into Naveed and he was like wearing the T-shirt.
Right. And you're like,
I was like, oh, that's the T-shirt from tonight. And he was like, yeah, everybody knew, but I didn't. Yeah, no. And then like pretty standard fiery Rockdale that you're gonna get, early in the first set, and they're gonna play that there. And yeah, Born was really nice. I thought when they kind of went into Born, we were approaching like sunset. And I thought that maybe they were going to go like extra hard on that Born, like they did at Dylan. That didn't quite happen, but it was still really nice.
It was cool. Well, and they went back to that faster jam. They've been doing the slower slide into the Born jam the last few versions, like Eugene, Louisville, Madison as well. But yeah, I'm curious, what the thought process was. Like tonight we're going to do the the funkier one, or whatever. So, but it was still cool. Great vintage vibe work from Peter. But yeah, don't have a ton more to add there. And we can move into the second half of the first set here. We had The Way It Is. Shout out to RJ.
RJ.
Poor RJ.
I feel so bad.
That is brutal.
Yeah. And then Rosewood Heart and Pancakes. Pretty great end to the first set here. Rosewood just becoming this vehicle. This one was shorter, but still, like, it's all about the drums in these Rosewood jams recently. Ben is just killing it. And I'm not just saying that because his parents are watching this podcast. and his sister, apparently. Yeah. We're Rich and June people here on this podcast. They get higher viewership, as we've seen. Love you too, Mike.
I'm staying away from that one.
But yeah, this Rosewood was awesome. And then the Pancakes jam, while not super long, was also really cool. Long first set here. I was not expecting another song after Rosewood, or if it was short. But this Pancakes jam was cool. Nice clav action, of course. Clav tweet happened. But cool little groove in there. Great way to close the set. But let's start with you this time, Ryan. What did you think on these last 3 songs?
I immediately thought of RJ as soon as the way it is started. I was like, oh no, I feel so bad. And it seems like that's the habit of like somebody asking for a request, and then the next night when they're not there, they play it. Yeah, hadn't seen that live. It was a lot of fun. It's a great cover. That Rosewood jam to me was just phenomenal. Like you said, Ben, it was just out of this world. Really just locked in and had just a great rhythm going. And Pancakes to me, like you said, it wasn't the longest one, but it packed a great punch. It had everybody just going crazy on the floor and was a great way to end the set. And it just got people just itching for set two to start. The way that ended, it was just full of energy. Everybody was jumping. Everybody was high-fiving after. And you just knew that set two coming out was going to be fantastic as well. It just had the crowd was, they had the crowd in the palm of their hands by the end of set one. I think
100%.
just everybody was loving it in the moment.
100%. Derek, how about you?
Loved hearing the way it is. Big Hornsby fan. I've always wanted to be able to see that. So I'm glad that I finally got it. Good version. Not quite like, maybe at, where was it, the Cap earlier this year where they had a good one of that, or
Ryman.
Wisconsin a couple of years ago. Ryman, that's where it was. Yeah. But I mean, it was just great to hear anyways, because they play the hell out of that song. And then Rosewood and Pancakes back to back to finish it out. Two of my very favorites. I keep, I'm jealous of whenever they drop the, 25 plus minute Rosewood, because I want that to be at my show because I love that song so much. So I love those really, really heavy hitter versions of it. But last night I felt went pretty far despite its length. And Ben, like everybody said, Ben and Jeff together, they were rushing it, really percussive. I was really digging that. And then for them to finish with Pancakes, I actually was surprised at how deep the Pancakes jam got that far into the set, only because I thought, like you, Ryan, I thought that Rosewood was probably going to finish it off. So when they dropped into Pancakes, I was like, okay, we're going to get, a pretty ragey, shorter, 10 minute version, and then they're going to be off. So I was surprised that it went as far as it did. And I was really, really enjoying it. Thought they closed set one at a really high note, and was excited for set two, although with my experience of shows at Thompson's Point and seeing Mo play there a few years ago, where literally there was a tech on the side of the stage holding up an alarm clock with the time on it and pointing frantically at it at like 9:58, I was like, okay, set two is going to be probably cut a little bit short. But
we were
okay.
saying the same thing. We're like, about 10 o'clock is coming.
Yeah, it was definitely a shorter one last night. What are your thoughts on the end of the first set here?
I mean, oh man, I've got a lot of different thoughts. I mean, that was great. First of all, anytime you kind of close up a set with Rosewood Pancakes, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And the Rosewood actually was the highlight of the set for me. That was my most favorite thing in the first set. The way it is. I took that opportunity to rub RJ's face in it a little bit. Sorry, RJ.
I love you.
Do absolutely love you, but it just felt necessary to do. So sent him a little video and tweeted at him with that. And hopefully it doesn't hate me. And then, what else did I want to say? Oh, the Pancakes. The Pancakes did feel like it was taking a really big turn.
Yeah.
And
I feel like if it was earlier in the set, maybe it would have gone on for longer, but I think they kind of stumbled into that groove and we're like, oh, but we have to end the set here.
Well, so that was the thing. It's like I think there was a competition between their desire to play while the sun was setting and like the amount of time that they were on stage. So when they finished Rosewood, I was like, okay, this is it. Like, this is the end of the set. It makes total sense that this is the end of the set. And I would have been perfectly happy with that. But yeah, I mean, it was, what was it, an hour and 25 minutes?
Yeah, 85 minutes.
Yeah.
I think you came to play for that number. But yeah, crazy, lengthy first set. We've seen that last couple of shows, really. I think one or both of the Asbury first sets were also pretty long. So,
yeah,
interesting. Well, second set comes around, pretty interesting opening with Feel It Now into Dr. Darkness. But let's talk about Feel It Now, Dr. Darkness, Hot Tea. I feel like we can bundle those together. For me, Feel It Now, incredible. We saw it open a show for the first time at Peach. We've been talking about since its debut how it's just so good in the second set. Worked really well in this slot. Dr. Darkness is a really interesting call for the second song of the second set. And I will be honest, when it was that and then the beginning of Hot Tea, I was like, okay, it's going to be one of these sets, right? We're probably going to get a Seekers after this. So I was very pleasantly surprised at the turn the Hot Tea made and what happened there, which was amazing. And I'm really excited to hear you guys talk about it. But let's throw it over to Derek. Yes, let's throw it over to Derek first here. First three songs of the second set.
So Feel It Now, I was really stoked about that. I love the new songs this year. Well, dating back to last fall, I was really hoping to hear Thatch tonight. I was so or last night, when I was so bummed when it was crossed off at Asbury Park. I was, saw that notification come up on Twitter and was like, raging about it because I've been dying to hear that song live. But no biggie because I really, really, really like Feel It Now too. Ever since the first time that was played, that was one of those songs that I was instantly got its hooks in me because it sounds like an indie rock jam band, which is exactly what drew me to Goose in the first place. So I really love that call. I think it's a great way to kind of get the set warmed up. I'm waiting for that 20+ minute version where they really take it out there. But as far as something that settles in the groove that it's in, I thought that it was awesome. Got the energy pumping, got people dancing, has that nice ending. So built up to a nice peak there. And I was really enjoying it. Dr. Darkness after that, not really sure about that call. I kind of was hoping for something with a bit more energy and something that had that big jam. But it was the first time that I saw it, so I kind of got to cross it off the list. So that was cool. But the Hot Tea, I'm going to go against the grain here because I saw a lot of people online and stuff talking about how, they weren't fans of that call. Like I said, I think last night was my 8th show, and I had not heard Hot Tea yet. I just was one of those songs that I would always miss by one show. I've seen most of the other big, older Goose songs, but Hot Tea seemed to evade us. And it's actually my wife's very favorite song too. So she's been wanting that every show. So when we finally got it last night, we were probably the most stoked people in the entire venue. And then for them to do what they did with it, just above and beyond anything that I could have asked for. Because, like I said, we would have been stoked anyways. It was just the normal sort of Hot Tea that you get a lot of times, especially like you were saying, Ryan, in like quote unquote like those sets. And we would have been perfectly fine with that, but for them to turn it into such an emotive jam odyssey, especially like that, like those are the Goose jams that hit me personally the hardest, that are the sort of emotional, like big peaky sort of jams. I really like the long, multifaceted, multi-passage type of stuff where they're going from like different movements and stuff like that. I really do like that. But sometimes it's just when Rick locks on to a certain progression or a certain riff that is just the perfect amount of emotion laid into it, that it just hits you right in the heart, like you and the band just builds on it, like you can't beat that. And in my opinion, Goose is the only band that has come anywhere close to Fish in doing that type of jam that well.
That's awesome. Yeah, really
so
special.
It got me.
Ryan, what about you? Feel It Now, Dr. Darkness, Hot Tea.
I love Feel It Now. It's probably my second favorite new song. Lead Up is my number one.
Love Lead
Hoping
Up.
to get that one tonight. But Feel It Now was just a great start. Great way to get everyone grooving again after kind of standing around during set break, and it got people going. I also thought, and I think somebody said this on Twitter earlier too, is I think it was one of Peter's stronger vocals for Feel It Now. I think he came through very clear, and I think he did a great job with that. The jam was nice to the point. It got us grooving. Dr. Darkness was interesting for a call. I would not have predicted that. But that said, it was, standard, great version of it. But that hot tea, though, that was something else. And just took it to new heights, and is just another example of just the progression this band is making as a whole in terms of listening to each other on stage and following cues and just building and building. And it was an emotional roller coaster for a hot tea. Usually it's a full-on dance party, and then it got, like they're saying, it's just an emotional, some playing from Rick. It got that peak at the end, and we'll talk about this in the next segment. But then coming in from the next song, going into the next song, I mean, it was just perfection. I think what they did in that last half of that second set was above and beyond what I expected. It was fantastic.
Awesome. Neil.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, Feel It Now is probably like my third or fourth number one out of the new ones, but it's
they're all three of them are number one.
Yeah.
They're all, out of those the Cap songs, they're all
good. This one is my favorite Peter song right now, like even competing with Redbird.
Yeah.
And it's back in its second set banger slot. Which for a moment there, it was.
It was a hell of a show opener. Beach.
Yeah, hell of a show
love
opener.
That call.
But right back where it belongs in the second set,
Yeah.
and it just proves the song can be played anywhere. It's got such good energy. I think it got the crowd moving. I think this is a good point to talk about the mud at the venue.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it was like the water came up from below,
like during set break.
I'm assuming the tide had changed, and so it was a salt marsh area where it was affected by the tides, because I drove by today and was at low tide and whatever. So the point is that the mud just kind of came out of nowhere, just from under us, and it smelled awful. It smelled like low tide in the venue, and it wasn't just hippies. And the mud was incredibly slippery, and it was around this moment when I really started to notice the mud.
Shout out to a friend of the pod, Corey, who had a good time in the mud.
I did not see Corey at the show.
Well, he said on Twitter that he had a good time in the mud.
Yeah, I'm sure that he did. I didn't spend enough time in that area of the venue where I would have found him. But sorry, Mr. Corey. Hopefully your hair's back. Dude. So Dr. Darkness, I thought it was fine where it was. I mean, it's a weird place for Dr. Darkness, but they got to play the song, and they got to slot it in somewhere.
Yeah.
And you would have expected it to be in the first set, but the first set just was so jammed full of stuff that was so good.
Right. Yeah.
They didn't have room for Dr. Darkness.
You can't put a Dr. D.
So it spilled into the second set, and I thought that was fine. And then, oh yeah, man, hot tea, it was really good.
Yeah.
And it was hard in the moment because I was just having so much fun, and there was so much joy. I was with Brendan and Becca. I was with Michael Schwartz, who was.
Did he mix in water?
I wasn't paying attention to whether or not he was mixing in waters. I didn't mix in a water second set, but I was raging during this song. I mean, it was good. And the whole venue kind of, actually in these first three songs, really perked up. I think first set was a lot of people just kind of watching, some talking, not a whole ton of folks really going hard, unless you were in the first 10 rows.
Mm-hmm. This
set was just full on change. People started to go, it was not imaginary mud, but it's certainly not imaginary. These two can definitely attest to that. But so the venue just started absolutely going nuts, and then hot tea started, and I, like you, was oh geez,
yeah, here we go.
And I was what kind of hot tea are we gonna get here? And also weird placement for hot tea.
Yeah,
that's not normally where you would expect to see it. Then it all just started happening, and then I was this is turning into a very, very different show very quickly.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
Midway through that hot tea, there was a clear point where the show can go one way or it can go another way.
Yeah. And like I feel like there has to be like a vocabulary for like the moment when you realize you are listening to a fucking incredible jam.
Yeah.
Like not just, this is like a
Really
good,
good.
it's
It's
like
like,
this is a
oh,
good jam,
like,
like I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this is one that we're gonna talk about for a really long time.
Yeah.
And like I do firmly believe that this jam is that good. If you want to call it a hasty rank, you can.
some
but
might.
I think it was really good. I listened to it on the drive today, and I absolutely loved it. But my hot take from the show is that is not my favorite jam from the show.
Ooh.
Whoa. All right, we got hot takes.
Okay.
Hit the button. Hit the button.
Well, have we gotten to your favorite jam from this show yet?
We have not yet gotten there.
Good. Well, we're going to start off with you for this last segment of the show, which is 726 and Madhavan and Don't Do It. And I assume that Don't Do It is your favorite jam.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, kick us off with this end of the show here, Neil. But
man, well, 726. Wow, like I've seen 2 straight 726s.
oh yeah, 2 consecutive shows.
2 consecutive 726s, which I think is a record of some kind. And you would never expect that song to be played so closely with.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Another
What is
version.
this? 2021.
Yeah, I mean, even then it wasn't even played that often.
There was a stretch where it was played like a few times on like 5 or 6 show gaps and so. But this is abnormally short, like just since Peach last week. But yeah,
so that's like 5 show gap in your parlance.
4,
yeah,
I think.
okay, 4. Okay. So yeah, so that was a surprise. And so after that hot tea and after that 726, I said, all right, this is a special show.
Mm-hmm.
That like they came here to do something and put something out there that they knew was going to be good. So yeah, that kind of worked our way through that. Actually, backing up to the hot tea, like, and just talking about the playing, Rick had his new guitar absolutely singing last night, and he's been getting better and better. Like we talked about this a little bit about just like coaxing out just the right amount of feedback and warble out of that guitar, and then like last night he mastered that. It was so incredibly good in the hot tea, and then again in 726 sounded absolutely wonderful. So I was really digging his tone throughout the whole kind of second set here. And then this Monophone, like I first of all couldn't believe that they were playing it at that moment. I was certain they were going to play it tonight.
Me too, and I was very sad last night when they started it.
But
don't say that yet.
yeah, I mean we don't know. But this is when I think maybe it was during hot tea, but like I texted you, or maybe I tweeted this. I was like, "It's the show before the show."
Yeah, you tweeted it, and it was a good friend of the pod, Brian Brinkman, had texted me that like 45 minutes earlier, and I was like, "These guys, like, they know what they're talking about."
The show before the show, and
Yeah.
that's what it was last night. Then the Madhavan was like, "This is the show before the show, right?
Yeah.
This is something special." That jam and that Madhavan like inject it straight into my names. It is somewhere in the middle of "Breathe" by Pink Floyd and "Down by the River" by Neil Young.
Oh yes, good.
It's like that nice like 2-chord jam with like a good amount of space. I think what separates it from like "Down by the River" and kind of makes it
psychedelic, more
Breathe.
psychedelic vibe.
I mean, Trevor was absolutely just playing the bass line to Breathe. Like pretty damn close.
We should ask him.
We should ask him. But I mean,
need a tease
holy
console.
shit. What a cool jam. I've never heard Goose do any jam like this ever, and that's why I love this jam.
Yeah.
I mean, it was truly unique for them. It was a nod to another song or 2 songs. But
it's very unique to come out of Madhavan, right? Like a song like that. You don't see a jam like this come out of it that often. And it was so cool. Also, Peter switching back and forth from keys to guitar, just like creating lots of feedback and space. It was so cool. Ryan, what were your thoughts on these songs here to end off the second set?
I mean, 726, in my opinion, was just so perfectly placed. There's just some songs that just fit after a great jam, and 726 is one of them. So after that hot tea, and you go into 726, I'm like, this is the perfect cool down right now. I absolutely adore that song. So to hear it played, that well at that time after that hot tea jam, it was just fantastic. The Madhavan I think would be my number 2 of the night. Hot tea would be number 1, but it was obviously something that just resonated with everybody there. I mean, everybody was going nuts, and that's something that I love to see. You know, when you're kind of up front and you look around and you turn around and you see all these heads bobbing up and down, everyone's jumping up and down, and you just felt like it was just a special night, you know, in that moment. And you know, the "Don't Do It" encore song was a lot of fun. It sort of hits me personally, you know, going through a divorce. So I was just like, oh God, I don't want to hear this. But it was, you know, so much fun. And it was just great. You know, it capped the night off well. Everybody left with a smile on their face. And just so many people were ramped up to wake up and drive down to Saratoga today. So the end run was phenomenal. And it really just, I think, got people so excited for what they're about to see in a couple of hours here.
Hell yeah. Derek, what about you on the last chunk of this show?
Yeah, love the Madhavan for sure. I was surprised to see that it was only about, 17 minutes plus whatever crowd noise at the end. So, because it definitely felt longer than that in the show in a good way, like in terms of where they take it, because that's a little bit around, maybe even a little shorter than what the typical length is. So, I definitely caught the breathe vibe during the show, which is kind of rare for me to be able to catch any tease whatsoever. I'm usually really oblivious until I listen to it at home. My wife is usually the one that like will elbow me and say like, "Hey, was that whatever song?" And I'll be like, I don't know." I for me to pick up on that vibe there, I was pretty special. But that was a really, really, really good jam, and I was not expecting it. I was kind of expecting them to just do a run through set closer, like a festival Madhavan or something like that, because they were starting to press up against the curfew. So for them to take it out as far as they did, I really, really enjoyed it. 726, I like. But I will say it does kind of pain me when they play it now, only because I really, really, really like the original version of 726 from Bingo Tour. And then my first show was the Swansea 2020 show, and they played it there too. And that was like, that song that night hit me in such a way that when they rearranged it and made it more, Ben on the toms and it's more synthy and stuff, it doesn't hit me quite as hard as it did. But I do think it was good placement coming after such a huge jam like that. And then Don't Do It, you can't really go wrong with if you have a 5-minute song that you just kind of need to burn through for an encore, you really can't go wrong with that, because it's an amazing song and Goose plays it well. As much as I would have rather them just say screw it to the encore break in the encore and just tack another 6 or 7 minutes onto the Madhavan, but you can't always get that.
True, it's true. Yeah, the gold standard for me for 726 is still Legend Valley 2021. Just the unique synth intro and just the way that it builds, and it's really about the way Peter uses synths in that one. But if people haven't checked that one out in a while, 61921. That's the gold standard for me. Got anything else to add? We got a show to get ready for.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a show we have to get ready for. I think there's like so much good stuff on the table for tonight. I mean, Goose is absolutely going to do something special.
Yes.
I hope.
Yes. So for anyone who doesn't know, a little context. 10 years ago, exactly, was Fish played 2 nights or 3 nights at SPAC. And Peter was there. And I believe Jeff, Trevor, and Rick were there as well. I don't know if Ben was. But Visudo played an after party, which was these were the official last Visudo shows ever. If people didn't see Peter's Instagram post today, he shared some photos from the run in 2013, which is pretty funny, and mentioned how Great Blue played in the parking lot. Really big deal coming back, 10 years after being a fan on the lawn at, some Fish concerts here, playing in the parking lot to, their biggest headlining show to date. And we've seen this a couple times already, like Red Rocks, Mohegan, But they're leveling up here. This is their first
Yeah.
outdoor shed show. You know, like they've
First of
played.
many,
Yeah, the first of many, of course. But this is the level up, right? Like
This is it. Yeah, it's happening.
this is huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we heard from a security guard that there have been 12,000. They're expecting 12,000 or so people tonight, which is pretty awesome.
Nice.
Obviously,
That's a good number.
yes, people on the
That's
internet
awesome.
are like, "Oh, but SPAC is 25,000 capacity."
Yeah.
Whatever.
Those people have never sat on the SPAC lawn.
Yes.
Yes.
If you can get
Yes.
7,000 people to
Yeah.
come out and sit on the SPAC lawn, that's
Yeah,
pretty
you're
good.
doing pretty good.
Yeah, for your first
Yeah,
time.
look,
Yeah, we were talking about this on the drive over, which is like how many people who've never seen Goose before
Yeah.
are going to want to go see Goose for the very first time sitting on the SPAC lawn. And like
Yeah.
that is your like barometer for success right there, which
Yeah.
is like that's a lot of people willing to sit on that lawn,
Yeah.
which is notorious.
yeah, it is.
Unless you're
No
Corey,
choice.
who, you know, needs to be up.
Well, you need to be barefoot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. But like, I mean, so I mean, this is exciting stuff. I think was that not also the run where Peter went and like he was talking about the story, but where Trey was like,
I think that was in like 2010.
it was then
Maybe.
2010.
It was a little bit earlier, but
There's some magic in this venue.
Yes.
That's the point.
yes.
So like in 2010, Peter was saying he went to see them. I should go back and listen to the recording so I hear it. But Trey came on the mic and was like, this is a pretty good job.
Yeah, like you should do this. You should be
Yeah.
like, yeah. Peter told the story during Taboo's tour as well, which is
Mhm.
Yeah.
awesome.
And-
But yeah, it's really special. You know, I know Coach also is really stoked about like the 10-year anniversary of the Fasudo shows. There's some video of that, I believe, on YouTube of them playing Empress from that show. Young Rick, young Matt Campbell, young Jeff, young Trevor. Pretty cool video to check out if you haven't seen that. But really excited for whatever we're gonna get tonight. It's gonna be a hell of a show. I can't wait. So
Speculation abounds.
speculation
Oh, yeah.
abound. It's gonna be awesome. And just in case anyone's thinking, Trey is playing in Asbury Park tonight. So
No trace. No trace.
Hologram Trey.
hologram Trey will be sitting in tonight. Hologram Jerry as well. The whole 9 yards.
But will it be Matt Campbell? Like that?
Well-
I'll leave you with that note. Like maybe he
Approximately 23 hours ish from now, we will be getting ready to talk about tonight's show. And you should all tune in to hear us talk about whatever magic happens tonight. It's back. It's going to be awesome. Thank you again, Ryan and Derek, for being on today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you guys.
Thank you
About
so
last
much.
night.
Thank you
Portland.
so much.
Yes. Derek, enjoy that couch tour tonight, Ryan. I'm looking forward to seeing
For
you
sure.
soon.
We'll see
Have a
you
great
later.
show, guys.
Thank you. It's going to be fun. Well, this has been another episode of Always Almost There, Day After Show Live. Everybody have a phenomenal evening and night and morning, and we will see you tomorrow afternoon.
Mushrooms.
Nice. All right.
Oh, it was
Thanks,
nice.
guys.
Bad internet connection.
Is it done?
It's we might still be live. Who knows?
I'm gonna see if we're still live.
It's the bad internet.